There is allegedly a lot of chaos right now backstage in WWE after the completion of the 2023 WWE draft. We got details on that. Plus, Brock Lesnar is officially a free agent in the world of WWE. He can appear on both Raw and SmackDown. Several NXT stars have been called up to the main roster during night 2 of the WWE draft. Got details on that. Plus, title holders have switched brands too. Details on who has gone where. Trish Stratus has been drafted to Monday Night Raw. The Usos, they're staying on SmackDown alongside the Tribal Chief Roman Reigns and Solo Sikoa. Other picks have been made in the supplemental draft. The Backlash main event may have been revealed, and it's not who you think it could be. A specific writer has reportedly been brought in to help support Bray Wyatt. The Royal Rumble could be heading to Orlando in 2024, and a big match has been made for this week's edition of NXT. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there's plenty of news stories to get into in the world of World Wrestling Entertainment. Let's start off talking about chaos backstage in WWE. The WWE draft always makes the company's on-screen product a little bit more hectic than usual. Most talent don't know in advance if they're switching brands, and there always seems to be an even bigger making it up as they go along feel to the normal how of Raw and SmackDown's rosters being constructed. Every edition of the draft prior to the one just completed in 2023 was definitely conducted with Vince McMahon leading WWE's creative efforts. This year's version occurs with Paul Triple H Levesque officially in charge of creative after McMahon's brief scandal-induced retirement/resignation last year. But there's widespread agreement Vince McMahon has been involved in creative since WrestleMania. Reports of how involved McMahon is varies on depending on the source, the week, and the moment in time that you ask. On the latest episode of Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer cited confusion over whether Bianca Belair, the Raw Women's Champion who's just been drafted to SmackDown, or Rhea Ripley should be drafted as the Blue Brand's Women's Champion on the April 28 draft episode of SmackDown as evidence of chaos backstage recently. Quote, what was interesting is Bianca, in her interview, talked about how she's now the SmackDown Women's Champion, and then the rest of the show, they kept talking about how Rhea Ripley is the SmackDown Women's Champion. So it's very clear that people are being told different things that change all the time. It's not like complete chaos, but there's a lot of chaos right now. With Ripley now headed to Monday night, Meltzer's co-host Brian Alvarez wondered if WWE would have the two wrestlers exchange bouts like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair did under the same circumstances after the 2021 draft. Alvarez also echoed a lot of fans' complaints about that scenario, calling the belt swap hokey. Meltzer attributed that hokiness to McMahon's tastes, implying that Vince still has the biggest influence on WWE creative, even if his son-in-law's title says different. Quote, with Vince McMahon, it has to be. There's no other way with Vince McMahon. Does wrestling have to be hokey? No. Will wrestling under Vince McMahon have to be? Yes. WWE is written for Vince McMahon. It's going to be hokey. It's just how it is. Now, obviously, this isn't viewed by some as a smoking gun or anything like that. This year's draft generally played out like the last ones. Was that a result of Vince McMahon's return, evidence of a creative power struggle, or just the nature of the beast when trying to juggle story demands and talent preferences while coming up with rosters that will keep network partners happy? You let me know your thoughts on it in the comment section below. But let's get into the draft and night 2 that was on Monday Night Raw last night. The draft continued on Raw, as I mentioned, with Chief Content Officer Paul Triple H Levesque kicking off the show to set some ground rules before revealing the first round picks for the evening. Before the drafting started, however, he announced that Brock Lesnar had renegotiated his status as a free agent, making him eligible to appear on both Raw and SmackDown going forward. The Beast Incarnate is certainly the most notable name among them, but now joins a group of free agents including Dolph Ziggler, Mustafa Ali, Omos alongside his manager MVP, and Von Wagner. In the meantime, Lesnar is set to battle Raw star Cody Rhodes on Saturday at Backlash. In the lead up to their encounter, the American Nightmare is looking for a measure of revenge following the destruction during the Raw after WrestleMania. After failing to dethrone Roman Reigns at WrestleMania 39, Rhodes thought he had a tag team partner in Lesnar the next night, only for the former 10-time world champion in WWE to decimate him with a series of suplexes and F5s in the show's closing moments. The two have been separated by security guards in the week since, with Rhodes labeling Lesnar a coward as well. Since returning to WWE in April 2022, Rhodes had yet to lose a match until his championship bout with Reigns in the main event of WrestleMania. Lesnar, on the other hand, following a series of back-and-forth matches with Bobby Lashley, is coming off a victory against the aforementioned Omos at the Showcase of the Immortals. What are your thoughts on Lesnar being given free agent status in WWE? And last night saw several NXT main roster call-ups. The NXT call-ups continued during last night's edition of Monday Night Raw, with 5 more superstars heading to the main roster. It started in round 5 as 3-time tag team championship winning tag team Pretty Deadly was drafted to SmackDown. They wouldn't be the last tag team drafted that evening either, with former NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Kaden Carter and Katana Chance heading to Monday nights. Last but not least, former NXT North American Champion Cameron Grimes was selected by SmackDown. As Monday's edition of Raw went off the air, a total of 12 different NXT prospects were heading to the main roster for the first time. That list included current title holders Indy Hartwell, who just won her first NXT Championship, Women's Championship, as well as NXT Women's Tag Team Champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Additionally, Zoe Stark and JD McDonough head to Raw, along with Apollo Crews, who is back for another run on the main roster, while Von Wagner has been given free agent distinction. However, it's quite interesting because the fun was far from over. Draft selections kept trickling out following Monday Night's Raw, with Indus Sher, that being Jinder Mahal, Veer Mahan and Sangha, moving to Raw, along with Odyssey Jones, while Grayson Waller takes his talents to Friday nights. Most interestingly, Fire and Dawn, who were drafted to SmackDown last week on Friday, are slated to face Carter and Chance for the titles on Tuesday's NXT, casting a little doubt over the championship situation going forward when it comes to the women's tag team division in WWE. Certainly, again, it's very, very strange what they're doing there. Now, it wasn't just NXT stars drafted as well. Title holders, they have switched brands too. The draft continued on Monday Night Raw with many shakeups and seemingly a concerted effort to switch up the title picture. The result, many champions switching brands. United States champion Austin Theory was snatched up by the blue brand, and undisputed tag team champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, they're heading to Monday Night Raw. So did the WWE Women's Tag Team champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez. Despite their ongoing feud with Owens and Zayn, the Usos, as I mentioned, have been moved to SmackDown along with the rest of the Bloodline. We'll talk about that in just a second, while their longtime rivals Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods head to Monday nights. Yet the night began by further clouding the Women's Championship picture, with SmackDown Women's Champion Rhea Ripley being drafted to Monday Night Raw, with Monday night's first draft picked. Ripley was still listed as part of the Raw roster despite winning the SmackDown title from Charlotte Flair at WrestleMania 39. Adding to that, Raw Women's Champion Bianca Belair, as I mentioned, was drafted to SmackDown last Friday. The top women's titles in WWE no longer line up with their respective brands. There has been some rumors about possibly changing the names of the titles, but we'll wait and see what happens when it comes to that. Of course, there was another notable main roster title switch Monday night as well. Gunther took Imperium and his Intercontinental Championship with him to Raw, which certainly explains the decision to move the United States title over to Friday nights. That said, a handful of days remain until these switches take place, as the effects of the draft will not come into play until after Backlash on Saturday. So certainly interesting, as I mentioned, when it comes to the Usos. We did just touch on this, but we'll go over it again. The Usos, indeed, they are remaining on SmackDown. Certainly, it was quite interesting regarding them. Hall of Famers joined the fray to announce the second-round picks on the second night of the 2023 draft. Booker T and Queen Sharmell were on hand to announce the second round of draft picks on last night's edition of the draft. Two big factions saw their members stick together by the end of the round as major details for the future were revealed. As I mentioned, Raw selected the undisputed WWE Tag Team champions Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens in the first pick of the second round, with then SmackDown picking up Jimmy and Jey Uso to complete the Bloodline on Friday nights. It was revealed that despite their loss last week, the Bloodline would be sticking together, I guess, for now. It was also revealed too that Raw selected the trio of Damian Priest, Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio to keep the Judgment Day together on Monday nights. That move secures Judgment Day as a faction also remains together, as Rhea Ripley, as I mentioned previously, was drafted to the Red brand. Whereas SmackDown drafted the entire LWO, with Rey Mysterio, Zelina Vega, Santos Escobar, Cruz del Toro and Joaquin Wilde also remaining together and on the Blue brand as well. So lots of factions not being split up and kept together too. Trish Stratus was involved in a draft for the first time in a very, very, very long time. The 2023 draft, as I mentioned, rolled around on last night's edition of Raw as Eric Bischoff and Rob Van Dam announced the next draft picks. By the end of the round, Raw had picked up a Hall of Famer in Trish Stratus, as well as Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler. Meanwhile, in the round, SmackDown picked up LA Knight and Karrion Kross. So other big names drafted to their respective brands too. But as I mentioned too, supplemental draft picks did also occur after Raw went off the air, was certainly quite interesting. Superstars selected for the Raw brand include Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, Johnny Gargano, Los Lotharios, Akira Tozawa, Piper Niven, Xia Li, Tegan Nox, Emma, and Riddick Moss. Additionally, Raw gained Odyssey Jones from NXT as well as a returning Jinder Mahal. Meanwhile, the blue brand only saw 2 new picks on Raw Talk, that being Tamina and the aforementioned Grayson Waller. The rest of the night's pick all fell into the free agency category of superstars who can appear across both brands. Those superstars now include Baron Corbin, Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin, Elias, and Zion Quinn. The free agency label also encompasses superstars such as Brock Lesnar, Amos, and Mustafa Ali. So certainly quite interesting that you've got quite a few free agents that I guess are going to fill up both shows. I'm not really sure when it comes to that. What a lot of people were concerned about was actually Samantha Irvin, because when we saw the Imperium was drafted to Raw, it led to a lot of concern. That reason was that it looked like as though they were no longer on the same brand as ring announcer Samantha Irvin, who had essentially developed a personalized ring introduction for fans for each member of the group that has become loved by the WWE Universe. Well, there's no need to worry because per WWE.com, Samantha Irvin will remain the ring announcer for Raw, while Mike Rome will be the ring announcer for SmackDown. So it would appear that both the ring announcers have switched brands too. This would make sense, of course. Samantha Irvin is engaged to Ricochet, and Ricochet was also drafted to Raw, so WWE tends to keep the couples on the same brand if they possibly can. Now, according to WRKD Wrestling, we have a bit of reaction backstage, certainly, to how the draft has played out this year. They tweeted, quote, "Many backstage are very happy with the way the roster shook out, with most wrestlers looking forward to the plans for the World Heavyweight Championship and SummerSlam." The new WWE World Heavyweight Championship was announced on the April 24 episode of Monday Night Raw and had been in the works since WrestleMania 38 in 2022. The first championship bout was revealed by Triple H, with the first champion set to be crowned on May 27 at the Night of Champions premium live event in Saudi Arabia. Now with the roster seemingly set, the question is, who do you think will become the first new or the new WWE World Heavyweight Champion? Now, could we see a separate main event that people maybe weren't expecting this coming weekend? Well, this Saturday, May 6th, will mark WWE's latest premium live event, Backlash, from San Juan, Puerto Rico. On the April 24 edition of the show, Bad Bunny made his return and confronted Damian Priest by attacking his former friend with a kendo stick after being driven through the commentary table on the post-WrestleMania 39 edition of Raw. Bunny would then go on to challenge Priest to a San Juan street fight at Backlash. Per WKRD Wrestling, Damian Priest is set to, or continued to heat up his feud with Bad Bunny as he did last night on Raw. The report also noted that Priest and Bunny are pushing to headline the Backlash show this Saturday. Now, one would think that the main event would most likely be Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar, but given both stars being Puerto Rican and Bunny's high-profile status as a Grammy Award winner, that'll be the match that certainly has a lot of investment from the crowd. So should that be the match that main events, or should it be Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar? Let me know your thoughts on that in the comment section below as well. Bray Wyatt. We haven't seen Bray Wyatt in a while. He's been off television since early March due to an illness, but the former Universal Champion has reportedly told those close to him that he's excited to return to the company. Wyatt had just begun a feud with Bobby Lashley that was to have built to a match at WrestleMania 39, but the match ultimately never happened due to Wyatt's illness. Since his WWE return, Wyatt has primarily worked alongside Rob Fee when it comes to creating his segments, but the company may now have a new writer on board. WWE Hall of Famer and current Senior Vice President of Live Events, Road Dogg, discussed Wyatt on his Oh You Didn't Know podcast, where he said that the company now has a new writer for Bray. He said, quote, "We have a new writer actually for Bray now, so we'll see how all of that unfolds down the road." Now, it must be said, it's unclear if Road Dogg's comment is referring to Fee or actually another new writer that's come on board after Fee, as Fee has now been working with WWE with Wyatt for over 6 months. Of course, if we get any update or clarification on that, we'll let you know. When it comes to Bray Wyatt returning to television, there's been no timetable on Wyatt's return to TV, with his status also affecting that of Uncle Howdy, his real-life brother, Bo Dallas. The Royal Rumble. Cast your minds already forward to the Royal Rumble next January. Every year, the Royal Rumble Premium Live event serves as not only one of WWE's biggest shows, but also the official starting point on the road to WrestleMania. And if the city of Orlando, Florida has any say in the matter, they will be hosting it in 2024. WESH News reported that the city of Orlando has moved to bid for the event, requesting $850,000 from the Tourist Development Tax Sports Initiative Committee for Orange County, Florida, the Greater Orlando Sports Commission, to make the bid. That is a heck of a long title. Let me read that again. The Tourist Development Tax Sport Initiative Committee of Orange County, Florida, for the Greater Orlando Sports Commission to make the bid. Heck of a long Heck of a long phrase that is. Camping World Stadium, which currently hosts the NCAA's Citrus Bowl and Shays It Bowl, would serve as the venue with an estimated capacity of 54,000 fans. Local leaders are projecting an economic impact of $28 million. Not only that, but this venue has a history of hosting large WWE productions. Camping World Stadium previously hosted not one but two WrestleManias over the years, WrestleMania 24 in 2008 and then again in 2017 for WrestleMania 33. Attendance was said to have been over 74,000 on both occasions, with WWE claiming totals of 74,635 and 74,245 respectively, while WrestleMania 33 generated a reported $181 million for the region. The 2023 Royal Rumble on January 28 took place inside the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, Texas, with a reported attendance of 51,338 based on attendance projections from Orange County leaders. Camping World Stadium appears to be in a pretty good position with the proposed bid. However, the requested funds will be returned if the bid is not awarded to the city. So we'll let you know if they're successful with their bid. Finally, a match has been announced for tonight's edition of NXT. Toxic Attraction is set to collide. WWE has announced on Twitter that Gigi Dolan will face former tag team partner Jacy Jayne on tonight's edition of NXT, and Dolan will have her brother at ringside watching the fight. Dolan has often spoken of her brother as the inspiration behind her success, as Dolan hopes her success in WWE has shown her brother that they can escape the pain and trauma of their abusive childhoods. Dolan previously defeated Jayne at NXT Roadblock, earning a modicum of revenge for her former NXT Women's Tag Team Championship partner's betrayal on her previously. So there you go, guys. That's the latest WWE news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe, bottom right hand corner. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.